Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to HogvilleNET YouTube Live post-game analysis. The Arkansas Razorbacks fell hard at LSU today, 95-74. It's kind of like snapping back to reality what these Razorbacks have been through most of SEC play. A couple of games, splitting games against Kentucky at home, losing by 6. A really good defensive effort for the most part. And then on the road, picking up not only the first road win of the season, but only the second league win at Missouri midweek. That was on Wednesday. Arkansas wins 91-84 there. The defense was really good in the first half of that game, not so much in the second half. And you saw carryover today. LSU jumped out to an early 10-point lead, 17-7, about 6 minutes into the action. And from there, Arkansas never was able to whittle that deficit below double digits. LSU led by as many as 21 points in the first half, led by 15 at the break. Built an early 24-point lead in the second half, and Arkansas did get within 19 a couple of times. I think they got within 18 points with about 5.5 minutes left. But LSU led by as many as 28 points in this game, goes on to win 95-74, 21-point victory for the LSU Tigers on their home court against the Arkansas Razorbacks. And this is what we've seen from Arkansas throughout most of SEC play. The Hogs now 11-11 overall, 2-7 in league play. Those 7 losses, Arkansas's lost double digits. 6 of those 7. We know the 6-point loss to Kentucky at home is the lone outlier there. It's the outlier. But then you look at the losses, even counting Kentucky. Arkansas's average margin of losing in these games is 18.6 points per game. This is not a team that's 2-7, but could be, arguably 2 or 3 games go the other way, have a winning record or close to even. No, Arkansas is getting blown out consistently, not just on the road in league play, but at home. Now, Arkansas is, 1-4 on the road when you look at the true road games this season. And those 4 road losses, all by double digits. When you look at Georgia by 10, Arkansas was competitive in that game. By the way, the Hogs are off for a week. No midweek game this week. Arkansas is off for a week and returns home to host Georgia in the second game of that home and away series next Saturday, February 10th. But getting back to what I'm talking about here with the losing margins, 10 at Georgia, by 22 at Florida, by 20, what was it? I keep screwing up the Ole Miss score. I think Arkansas lost by 26 in that game. And I think it was 77-51 in that game. And then today by 21 points. So you see that Arkansas lost at home to Auburn by 32 points. That was a record loss at home for the Razorbacks in Bud Walton Arena, spanning 30 years and 500 and something games. Lost by 13 at home to South Carolina. So, Arkansas does have a home win by a point over A&M, and then the 6-point loss to Kentucky. The Razorbacks at the midway point of SEC play at 2-7, 4 games at home, 5 on the road. So Arkansas will have a 5-4 split with home games to start second half of league play. I said over and over again, if Arkansas did not split those games a week ago or so against Ole Miss and Kentucky, and Arkansas went 0-2 in those, that every game was a must-win after that. Well, Arkansas responded with a road win over Mizzou. It's kind of a joke, but then you think, well, 10 games ago, if Arkansas wins out, per that prescription, they're probably, in line for at-large consideration going in the SEC tournament, if not with an at-large. Today, that's gone. This was a quad 2 loss. LSU was 95th in net, so this was a quad 2 loss for the Hogs on the resume. Arkansas is not good anywhere when you look at the quads. I mean, 1-6 in quad 1, and now 2-4, I believe, in quad 2 games. And then, most of the wins, 1 loss in quad 3, by the way, UNC Greensboro. So 8 of the 11 wins, when you look back on it, are quad 3 or quad 4. It's just a horrible resume. Arkansas came in ranked 120th in net today. That'll slip, not just because you lost on the road, but you lost on the road to a team that's not a great LSU team, and you got you got beat by 20 plus points. So Arkansas still, and this is why I cautioned, as well as Arkansas played against Kentucky defensively, as well as they played on both sides of the ball for a half against LSU and Missouri, and then continued it with the offense in the second half, not so much the defense in that second half. Folks were saying a win is a win. Yeah, Arkansas is a quad 3 team. Folks were telling me the win is a win, and I kept saying, look, the reason why I'm talking about the second half defensive collapse against Mizzou and the poor 3-point defenses, because this is what Arkansas continues to show even when it won, and it would be problematic moving forward. And I said, don't get caught up in these matchups against soft Kentucky interior front line and soft Mizzou interior front line, where Arkansas was the more physical team in both. I said, those are matchups. This is not a foreshadowing that Arkansas's turned a corner necessarily, because the matchups aren't going to be like that in most of these games. And we saw it today. LSU was physical early, really got into Arkansas defensively, started knocking down 3-point shots. I talked also in the last post game, even though Arkansas won, about the 3-point defense. Gave up 10 of 20 from 3 to Mizzou, 50%. Gave up 9 of 20 to Kentucky, so 45%. So those two games combined, 19 of 40 from 3. That was your 3-point defense. Just awful, nearly 50%. Well, that trend carried over today. LSU, and this is probably, if you want to argue in a 21-point win, this is the biggest difference of the game. 12 of 23 from 3. The Tigers started 6 of 7. They were really good throughout this game shooting from 3. 12 of 23, 52.2%. So my math, it's not always great, but in the last 3 games, Kentucky, Mizzou, and now LSU, Arkansas has given up 63 3-point attempts, and teams have made 41 of those. 41 of those. Wait a minute. 12 plus 19. Yeah, 31 of 63. Darn near 50% when you look at that shooting with these teams against these teams. And that's just not going to cut it, because it's not just the percentage, it's the volume. 9, 10, today 12 makes. Those are high. That's a high level of makes shooting at that percentage. Conversely, today Arkansas 3 of 13 from 3. You like it that Arkansas at least tried to play to its strength of getting to the rim, playing the attack game, pressure the rim. But this was a game where LSU was sound defensively, really did a good job for the most part defending Arkansas around the basket and the 3-point line. It's a team that typically gives up a lot of threes because it's really good defending inside the arc. It's an LSU team that was holding teams at just over 40% overall field goal percentage coming in. Arkansas does get to 43.6%, 24-55. So you could see where Arkansas's attention to getting to in the paint and the rim, at least they stuck to that. But the 3-point shooting discrepancy, the margin there, was just too much. Arkansas also got to the free throw line 33 times, but made only 23, just under 70%. Missed 10 free throws. Conversely, LSU, 89.3%, 25 of 28. So Arkansas took 5 more and made 2 less. So if you add the 3-point line and you add up those free throws, Arkansas checked some other boxes and some other places when we start looking at hustle stats and things where Arkansas has made gradual improvement, but it just wasn't enough because Arkansas's offense, once again, was not very good. When you look at the final margin, 95-74, 21-point loss. It was as many as 28 late in that game. Arkansas got some really cheap baskets there in the final seconds when it was academic. This could have been worse. It looked worse. But still, you lose by 20 plus. It's the 4th time in SEC play Arkansas has lost by 20 or more points. Again, the average margin of losing in these 7 losses is 18.6 points. And what I continue to see is not only Arkansas not even close to a rotation that's helpful, but the individual pieces too often are not coordinated. They're just guys trying to make plays and do things on their own. And you see the other teams are cohesive. They're playing through each other. They're playing off each other. And you see Arkansas just vulnerable. Arkansas's defense just was awful. Again, they fell behind by 7 points 6 minutes of the game and never pulled within a double-digit deficit after that. So 33, 34 minutes, Arkansas's getting kicked, consistently kicked. There's no other way to look at that. And this goes from the top. I'm going to say it again, coaching. You see Arkansas's individual players continue bad habits. This head coach has not been able to get that out of individual players and get this team playing well collectively, consistently. He's been able to get things turned around in 3 previous seasons. Make no mistake, Eric Musselman's a good coach. But this time around, it's a crew that he's recruited, and it's a crew that he's been unable to reach. And today we saw more chippiness. We've seen this in the past. We saw the television cameras caught it. Makai Mitchell coming back to the bench, having words. John with Musselman went back and forth a little bit there. Muss picked up a late technical. When Arkansas did get within under a 20-point deficit, 6 or 7 minutes left. I forget exactly how much time. But, and he was right on why he was angry. Leighton Blocker should have had an and one. That should have been an and one. The refs got that wrong. But you finally got within. You're under 20. The last thing you can have is free throws for the other team. LSU knocks down both technical free throws. Blocker goes 1 of 2, I think. I think he made 1 of 2. Layden Blocker today did not. I'm going to single out one individual. Layden Blocker got another start, 9 points, 2 of 6 from the field, 5 of 10 at the free throw line. It was more like 5 of 12 because he missed 2 front ends of 1-and-1s. But 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, only 1 turnover in 25 minutes. In a game where you lose by 21, you trailed by as many as 28 multiple times. His box score in 25 minutes was only -4. Now he's obviously raw. Offensively, he's not really a guy that you point to and say he's going to go get us buckets. He's still struggling to finish at the rim. He really struggled at the free throw line. I mentioned it, 5 of 10. And then in his hustle plays, he does a lot of gambling. He gets out of position. LSU burned him a few times. But man, this guy battles. And you see why Arkansas in 25 minutes, I mentioned it, Arkansas fell behind by 10 early and was trailed by double digits from that point on, and trailed by as many as 21 points in the first half, by 15 at halftime. Lead swelled to 24 early second half and then stayed mostly in the 20s. But for a guy that played 25 minutes to be only a -4 in the box tells you how much impact Blocker's toughness, his aggressiveness, his effort impacts the game. And so to me, the musical chairs, I understand it. Arkansas cannot find combinations to consistently play well. But this is a guy I'm riding with at this point. Your season is over in terms of postseason. The only shot you've got now is to win out, including the SEC tournament, in my opinion. Win out and get to the finals of the SEC tournament, and maybe you're an at-large. Maybe my math's off there. That's not going to happen. You could get hot in the SEC tournament. The way things are tracking now, Arkansas is going to finish bottom 4 in the SEC, which means a Wednesday game for those to advance, where everybody else gets at least a day off and a bye, and the top 4 teams get a double bye to the Friday quarterfinals. So Arkansas's best shot now is to win the automatic bid and go 5 games, win 5 games in 5 days in the SEC tournament, which is likely what would have to happen. There is not a viable path or a realistic path for this team to go back to an NCAA tournament for a 4th consecutive season. At this point, I'm rolling with certain guys. Blocker's one of them. This guy, in my opinion, should be left out there for at least the 25 minutes he got tonight, probably more moving forward. He's a guy that I'm going to ride with. When you look at some of these stats for most of the Hogs, a lot of these are pretty much empty stats. I'm going to go through and explain why I see it that way. Because defensively, this team was really, really, really bad. This was an LSU team, not a great offensive team, averaging mid-70s, 20 points higher effectively than its season average, 18, 19 points more than what it averages. This looked like a game for a while where Arkansas would struggle to get out of the 60s again. So Arkansas did manage to do that for only the 3rd time, get to 70 or more points, for only the 3rd time in conference play. 2 of those were wins. Today, Arkansas scores 70 or more and fails to win. Why is this team so bad when it was supposed to be Musselman's best team on paper? I think a multitude of things. I think it's from the top down. I think attention to detail has not been here with this group. I think you've got a lot of individual pieces that are good. Go back to the Duke game. Arkansas's best player is Tremont Mark. When you look at the arc of the season, he didn't play in that game. This was the 3rd consecutive game without Trevor Brazile and Devo Davis. The previous 2 games, Arkansas was a better team without those guys. Today, I don't know that it would have mattered if Arkansas had either one of them or both. As far as we know, Davis doesn't come back. He's stepped away from the program. There's been no finality given on that in terms of an elaborative explanation. But what do we assume? We assume, 3 games later, he's not there. We don't know what to make of it just yet as far as permanence. Is he done as a Razorback? Trevor Brazile, same question mark, because he's still got NBA draft projections, 1st round, some, sliding out. And I think, in fairness, they probably should based on what he's been able to do on the court this year, but he's also missed nearly a year with the knee. He had some really great performances through November, and then he tweaked his ankle. Now he's got knee soreness again. I might be able to cut him some slack there and say, well, maybe he shuts it down. Who knows? But individually, Arkansas's got a lot of talent. It just hasn't meshed. It doesn't come together. And all these other teams in the SEC have talent as well. There was no disparity with Arkansas from some of these teams. I think what made Arkansas look really good on paper and a potential final weekend kind of team is Eric Maltzman's track record of getting his teams in line at worst in mid-January and then marching through March. Now they did that in back-to-back Elite Eight years. Last year it wasn't quite that clean after they started 1-5 and then won 5 straight, including that big win at Kentucky. They struggled at the end of SEC play, split games in the SEC tournament, and then got back to a Sweet 16, beating the defending national champs and the regional #1 seeding in Kansas, and then ran into that buzzsaw, the eventual national champs in UConn, similar to what happened in the Elite Eight 2 years prior against Baylor. So, but you still felt like with all this collective experience, the individual talents, what Arkansas was bringing back in Devo Davis, all-league guy last year, was a good player for Arkansas last year. Really good, great in postseason. Remember what he did against Kansas. You bringing back Trevor Brazile. You had 3 other returning guys. You had Tremont Mark, who's been a part of a monster Houston program that came in with a lot of billing. Other talented individual players. It just hasn't translated. It has not gone from practice that Eric Musselman preached forever. Have the great practices. We look great. Everything's going well. I couldn't ask for more. Great communication. These players like each other. All these positives, and then we get here to the floor, and it's a different slideshow. It's a different movie. It's a whole different narrative that actually plays out. So you're asking me what happened? I mean, we're seeing in real time that it's not what we thought it was. But we saw enough of the win over Purdue in exhibition season, in a game both teams were competing like their NCAA tournament survival was on the line. Excuse me, guys, I'm a little under the weather. I'm operating with one ear that's functioning, the other one's completely plugged up. Got to get to the dock early in the week. But we're seeing an Arkansas team that's had some good games, just not enough. It's just not enough. It's consistently bad. It's consistently dysfunctional. And it starts from the top down. It absolutely starts from the top down. Eric Musselman's a hell of a coach, but this is on him as much as anybody. And, the musical chairs with lineups, rotations, how they've tried to change things up and how they prepare, all of that is, I think, what you have to do when you don't have any combinations that really work. I've already stepped out and spoken about Leighton Blocker and how I feel at this point now. You ride a lot with him. We'll see what Musselman does. It's what I would do. You saw Tremont Mark today, 20 points. A lot of that was empty, man. I mean, a lot of his stuff came when this game was really out of hand. Got some scores late, but he was 7 of 13 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 5 of 5 at the line, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, a block, 0 assists, and 1 turnover in 34 minutes. Box score minus 24. So sometimes, you look at the points, but in some of the stats, but then you look at the impact. Jalen Graham had some moments offensively, 18 points, 8 of 14 from the field, so positive there. 2 of 3 at the line. You'll take that from him. Not a good free throw shooter. Only 4 rebounds in 31 minutes. This is just not a physical player and a guy that battles hard on the glass. He had a couple of steals, a block, and assist, 2 turnovers in his 31 minutes, and only a box minus 13. So there were stretches there, I think, where Arkansas was countering with some offense. I don't know how much he really impacted defensively some of those stops. It might have just been good timing when he was on the floor for him. Mekhi Mitchell, who came in, excuse me, folks, Mekhi came in with back-to-back double-doubles and looked really good. Today, 10 points, 3 of 4 from the field, made all 4 of his free throws. By the way, he's now 15 of his last 18 free throw attempts. Man, this guy's money at the line. 4 assists. We know he can pass out high on the floor. He made, a nice backdoor pass. I think it was to Minifield when both of those guys checked in early in part of the game. And Arkansas was already down 10-2 at that point. But 3 rebounds. He only had 3 rebounds today. That hurts. LSU shot so well. I'm going to go through the stats. It's hard to pick up rebounds when the other team's knocking everything down with ease. It tells you your half-court defense stunk it up. And you weren't in position to gather and gobble up a ton of rebounds because the other team wasn't missing shots. 1 steal for Mekhi, a couple of turnovers, 29 minutes. I mentioned Minifield, 4 points. That 1 field goal when he came in off that backdoor cut, he was 1 of 5, 0 of 2 from 3, made both free throws, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 turnovers in 21 minutes, minus 20 in the box. Awful game for Minifield at both ends. Chandler Lawson got the start again, 6 points, 2 rebounds, was only 1 of 4 at the foul line. And he had a turnover, played, I think, 20 minutes and was minus 21 in the box. So another player, when you look at it, just just it was a negative impact for Lawson today. And then Jeremiah Davenport, he's one guy, 5 points. Hasn't shot well all year when he gives you production, so he's got to get up some shots to score. But he did have 3 rebounds, 1 assist, only 11 minutes, and his box was +4. Misleading in a game where Arkansas trailed by 20 plus most of it. But there's some positive impact when he was on the floor, at least in those stretches. You'd have to go back and watch the game, is what I probably need to do to see if that's a misleading box plus. But, I mean, there's another guy that was on the court. Caleb Battle started once again today, 0 of 3 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3. Didn't play a ton in this one. Wasn't a day for him. We've seen a lot of those kind of games for him. I think he had a steal and maybe a rebound or two early. But, it just wasn't a game for him where, he's being outplayed in the backcourt typically once league play started. He's really struggled in league play. As has most of Arkansas's guards. We didn't see L. Ellis again. If he checked in at some point, I turned up my head away from the ugliness that he checked in. I didn't see it, so that'd be another game that Ellis, after starting against Kentucky and playing a big bulk of minutes there, then it would be back to get back games. He didn't see the floor. Point guard play against Kentucky was really a weakness, and Musselman went away from that. Point guard play was not good again today. I mean, the combinations, no matter, Blocker's not a true point guard. And he's still a work in progress. He's a willing passer. He's just not a guy that sees guys cutting to get open or passing them open or passing on time. He's a work in progress. He's a willing passer. He's still learning to play. You see some sparks here and there from midfield, just not enough. And then L. Ellis, we know what his problems are as a fifth-year college guy. Okay, so I went through some of the Arkansas stats. The Hogs, I mentioned 24 of 55 from the field, 43.6%, 3 of 13 from 3, 23.1%, 23 of 33 from the foul line, 69.7%. I went through LSU, 29 of 53, 54.7%. Again, 12 of 23 from 3, 52.2%, and 25 of 28 at the foul line for 89.3%. So, I mean, LSU's just not that good of an offensive team. Will Baker, the 7-footer, came out hot, stayed hot, just crucified Arkansas inside and out. A lot of it was from 3 early, and then he was scoring around the basket. 9 of 11 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3, 3 of 3 at the foul line, 25 points, only 2 rebounds and 1 assist. Everything really that he did that hurt Arkansas was offensively. Jalen Cook, the guard, talented guard off the bench today, 20 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 7 of 7 at the foul line, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Williams, the other guard, started early, also making threes. Most of his damage in the first half, but 13 points, 4 of 6 from 3. And then Jordan Wright, he's that 6'6" wing transfer from Vanderbilt. When you look at the previous 2 seasons, Vanderbilt beat Arkansas in both of those. And Wright was kind of a hog killer. He spends a lot of time at the free throw line. Once again today, not really a great shooter. 1 of 6 from the field, but 13 points, 10 of 11 at the foul line. He knows how to manufacture fouls against this Arkansas defense the way that Eric Musselman plays it, because this isn't the first time. Different team, but he's a guy that really hurts Arkansas. But 13 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He's one of those kind of jack of all trades that you envision with a Tremont Mark coming in. And then, there was a trio of Reed, Hannibal, and Dean. I thought all of those guys played really aggressively for LSU. Really physical, aggressive basketball from that combo. And they combined for 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 assists. So you saw LSU had a couple of guys with 20-plus points, other guys in double figures, and then a trio of other players that kind of combined to really hurt Arkansas. And again, Arkansas's defense is just you saw the shock to the system. I warned on this. I warned against this in the last postgame after Arkansas had its way against a really, really soft Mizzou team. Kentucky, soft on the interior. Not a good defensive team. And I saw this coming. I knew eventually it could be today. I didn't say that, but I knew at some point reality was going to set in against teams that really get into Arkansas and play a certain way. This was, again, LSU was holding teams coming into this to 40.6% shooting overall from the field. Arkansas actually a little better than that. Because it's an LSU team that's so good defensively inside, it tempts teams to take a lot of threes. Arkansas wasn't good from 3, only 3 of 13. But they didn't take 20 or more. They didn't bite on that temptation. They continued to attack. it's just hard to really be good against LSU inside. And Arkansas stuck with it and had a decent, decent effort attacking inside the 3-point line. The problem was on the other end of the court, the defense was just. I mean, Arkansas was playing from double-digit deficits again throughout this game after the first 6 or 7 minutes. Never got within single digits after the first 6 or 7 minutes. I can't wait to see the post-game press conference with Eric Musselman. Haven't seen the quotes, haven't seen the presser. I do that. I always follow up on that stuff after we do this. I think it's interesting, though, again, um, that Arkansas, I wouldn't completely say this team lacks effort this time around. We said a lot of that through the South Carolina game and the Ole Miss loss. And then Arkansas showed a lot more effort against Kentucky, a lot more effort, obviously, against Mizzou. And I thought today Arkansas's effort was, for stretches, respectable. The problem was LSU's effort was better. Arkansas was never able to match that level of effort. And it's just so disconnected, so disjointed, so dysfunctional that it just looks bad and it starts snowballing. But I'm not going to fully question effort today. I'm not. I saw guys playing hard, several guys playing hard. I mean, we saw Makai. It wasn't the kind of game he's had the previous two, but on one offensive rebound on a missed free throw, he went in there and battled, secured possession, and passed as he's falling out of bounds. And Arkansas scores off of that hustle. I mentioned Layden Blocker and his hustle plays. Jeremiah Davenport, you'll see him play hard, even though he can't really execute a lot, and he's not been good shooting the ball all year, not efficient. But you see certain guys putting out effort. Graham kind of picks and chooses when he wants to. He gives a lot of effort offensively. And Tremont Marcus stats, again, I mean, these are mostly, to me, empty in a game where Arkansas loses by 20 plus. Big E for effort. So I'm not going to question the effort, but I want to hear what Eric Musselman has to say later. That's what I was getting at. See if he sees it the same way or if he feels like there just wasn't enough of it. And maybe that's what's true, because LSU seemed to have it on both ends throughout this game. There weren't a whole lot of letdowns by the Tigers in this game, even though Arkansas, kind of patched together, a couple of 6-0 runs late in the first half. They had a run at the end of the game when it was academic. They were down 28 to cut it to 21. That game was over. I'm not going to really count that one. There might have been a couple other times Arkansas squeezed the lead down to 19 or 18 after being down mid-20. So, you've got to have longer runs, bigger runs, and you don't need to be down 20 plus against a team like this. Remember, LSU was 11-9 coming in here, 3-4 in league play. Now, it's a team that's done better in league play than Arkansas. This was a game where if Arkansas could win, both teams would have 3 league wins. LSU one fewer loss because it played one fewer game. But LSU was competitive against Georgia like Arkansas was on the road, losing by 2. The Hogs lost by 10 there. LSU, after beating A&M on the road, was a team that came home and lost to the Aggies in a close game. So LSU, arguably coming in, they're 4-4 now in league play, could be a little better than that. But it is what it is. This is not a great LSU team. It was a team that picked at the bottom of the SEC or thereabouts. It's a team that really struggled in non-conference play, has been better in league play, but 21 points better than Arkansas. It tells you how bad Arkansas is. Come on. Arkansas's lost again. Someone do the math. Help me with the math. But Arkansas's got 7 SEC losses by a combined margin of 18.6 points. 130 points if you add up the total in 7 games. That's just not, that's not, no, sir. That's not good math. And so we're going to probably cut it short here, around 30 minutes. There's not a lot to talk more about. I'll go through some of the other stats. Turnovers, LSU only +1, 12-11, but +9 in points off turnovers, 19-10. Arkansas won those battles at Mizzou. Not here, and while it was close in the turnover margin, only -1 for the Hogs, -9, almost doubled up in the points off of those giveaways, 19-10. Arkansas actually led rebounding for a lot of this game. LSU ends up +1, 31-30. But offensive rebounds, Arkansas 9-5 there, +4. Second chance points, 8-2 for Arkansas. So that's a stat Arkansas loses a lot and gets clobbered on the offensive glass. Not in this game. But again, why does LSU need to be great on the offensive glass when it's making most of its field goals? That's going to skew that stat a little bit, right? Because if you're making shots, you don't have a need for a rebound and second chance point. Bench scoring, LSU +10, 31-21. A lot of that was Cook and his 20 points. Points in the paint, Arkansas, again, 38-30. But again, we talk about the disparity from three. LSU makes 9 more threes than Arkansas, shooting 52% compared to Arkansas's 23%. So points in the paint +8 for Arkansas. I mean, you're getting kicked in the head by 21 points in this game, so not a lot there. Arkansas on the fast break, 19-8, +11. You don't see a lot of that. Arkansas was +11 in the first half against Mizzou in fast break. The Tigers closed that to only a -3 deficit in the final numbers the other night. A great second half for Mizzou when you saw the 50-plus points against the Hogs and losing by only 7. And LSU just kind of picked up the reins up or took the baton and said, all right, we see what you did in the second half, Mizzou. We're going to go 2 halves of that. So 95 points, but Arkansas did win fast break 19-8. Another misleading stat is LSU won blocked 6-2. Talk about aggressiveness and rim protection. Usually Arkansas wins that. As bad as Arkansas loses games, they typically win that, but -4. The Hogs typically lose the steal battle, but +3 there, 8-5. Arkansas doesn't typically rack up steals. They've had several in the last couple of games, but again, the scoreboard says a lot. 17 assists for LSU, only 10 for Arkansas today. And you see Arkansas guys, again, trying to play a lot of 1-on-5, just disjointed, just disconnected on offense. There's not a lot of fluidity and helpers. But you did see times where Arkansas's big shared it around the basket. Minifield made a couple of decent passes. But other than that, for the most part, just bad offense, bad ball sharing, bad ball movement. And once again, another team's moving the ball side to side, inside and out, and getting what it wants. A lot of easy scores. All right, so we are now 31 minutes, 45 seconds in. Arkansas Razorbacks. Thank you for joining me, by the way, at HogvilleNET YouTube Live post-game analysis. Arkansas Razorbacks fall hard and fall far, 95-74 at LSU today. Arkansas, again, 11-11 overall, 2-7 in league play. This is not a great LSU team. Arkansas will have a return match in March at home against the Tigers. We'll see if Arkansas's found any answers and playing any better, in more than a month from now when that game takes place. Arkansas's off. No midweek game this week. Arkansas will be back on the court at Bud Walton Arena on Saturday, February 10th, hosting the Georgia Bulldogs. 5 p.m. tip. I believe that's back on the good old SEC network. We're going to sign off now. Yes, last postgame, I did get into some of the rumor stuff. I really didn't want to touch with the 10-foot pole, some of that wild stuff that's kind of disgusting how social media just ran with it and people making truths out of it. We really don't know all the stuff going on with some of the players and why guys are out. We know what we're told, and we haven't been told a lot. But what we do know and what we did hear, again, was the coaching rumor mill, and I've validated those based on my source information that Eric Musselman is on the market, has been on the market for a while, and I stand by that. We're going to hear a lot of different things as this season progresses. Win or lose, turn things around. I mean, it looks like Arkansas is going to have one of those historically bad SEC runs. And then you get into the spring, you get into March Madness, and it doesn't look like this team will be playing in that, but there may be a lot of headlines at that point. We'll see. I haven't predicted that Eric Musselman will be gone. I have said what I said in the last postgame is that based on all of my source information going back for a while, not only do I believe he's on the market, but I believe he's seriously considering a move. I didn't say he was on a hot seat. I don't believe that, but I think he's considering it. Whether or not it ends up happening is another thing. I lean towards, it's very slight lean, like I said prior, my slight lean is towards the idea that he won't be back. But there's a lot of stuff that's got to play out. We know that the coaching carousel becomes a domino effect, and sometimes things change rapidly there, whereas one opportunity or 2 or 3 opportunities that might look attractive are gone, no longer available. There's other stuff going on. You just never know. And I have no information to suggest that he's already got something lined up with a specific program or that he's definitely out the door. So, again, those are my takes on it. I do think he's seriously looking. And then there's always the idea that, going into things, I don't know how much leverage you have with the way the season's playing out, but sometimes those things get out there as you're trying to parlay not only the options of looking elsewhere, which would always maybe keep the door open and look around, but how you improve your current situation. So again, there's a lot of factors going to play into this before the dust settles. And I did think a couple of things today were a little bit ugly as far as optics. Again, with Mekhi Mitchell, John, with Muss, these things happen sometimes. It has happened a lot over the years at Arkansas, going back to Mason Jones and Muss in year 1. And then I thought the technical foul, even though it probably didn't matter, was at a point where Arkansas had actually broke under 20, and that didn't help. That didn't help. Arkansas was on a bit of a run, but it kind of killed that. And so again, it might not have mattered. There was still enough time left in the game, and I'm not going to blame this loss or the point differential on Eric Musselman, but I do think everybody's frustrated right now, and I do think from top down this has been a problem. It's not just the players; it's the head coach and everything that follows. And so that's where I see it. And Arkansas's got a hell of a coach that's leading the program. It's been that way. And so you don't make statements like that without acknowledging how good it's been and how good he's been. Now, another discussion would be, well, how good has Arkansas been in the SEC? Well, they were awfully good after bad starts in years 2 and 3, finishing second and fourth in the league. Both of those seasons good enough for double buys into the SEC tournament. Both of those runs good enough to position Arkansas in really strong seeds going to the NCAA tournament. Last year, the Sweet 16 run, but Arkansas was 8-10 in league play. Arkansas finished 10th. Arkansas may not finish as well as 10th this year. It may be closer to, 12th or 11th or 12th. We don't know yet, but it's right now they're in 12th place with only Vanderbilt and Mizzou being gracious enough to be worse. So we'll see. Arkansas plays both of those teams at home, by the way, later on, and so that might help Arkansas. At that point, what does it matter? So you can look at Arkansas the last couple of seasons now not faring very well, losing records in SEC play. We know Muss had a losing record in year 1 in Arkansas in league play, but I don't really hold that against him. It was the COVID year. It was a team he inherited. Isaiah Joe, one of his pros, got hurt and missed 5 games and was playing hobbled for 2 or 3 other ones, and that was a real for a team that wasn't deep to begin with and what he inherited. So I don't hold that against him. But, when you look at it collectively, Arkansas's not been great in the SEC other than a couple of seasons. Arkansas's been really good in postseason in previous 3 years. Looks like there's not going to be an opportunity there this year. If Mitchell had done that to Nolan, well, I don't think that would have ever happened. Because Nolan had those guys' attention and respect out of the gates before we ever saw what it looked like on the court with television cameras. So I don't think that would have happened. Now, that someone can probably correct me and point to some time in his 17 seasons where somebody said something or did something, but man, if that happened, they blew it past me. I didn't see it. And so, you'd have to go back and correct me on that. And that was it. This is a different era. This is a different era where coaches can't be as tough, and some can. I mean, maybe there's some that are and are successful with it. I have a feeling even in this era, nobody would cross Nolan Richardson. Nobody. And he's the GOAT. He's the coaching GOAT at Arkansas, innovator. He was a true innovator in college basketball, not just relative to what he did at Arkansas, but most of it is what he did at Arkansas. And a great coach, Hall of Famer for a reason. Eddie Sutton, another one. I wouldn't necessarily call Sutton an innovator, but just a splendid coach. Just about everywhere you would look under, a facet of the game, and he was one of the best. Now also a Hall of Famer. Eric Musselman is third on the list at Arkansas, and it's a proud, storied program. There's been other good coaches. I count Mike Anderson as a good coach for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Musselman's a notch or two above that, and what he was able to accomplish. Musselman's been a hell of a coach at Arkansas. It's not good this year, and it does start with him, and then it trickles down from there. So I'm not going to shy away from that. I don't pull punches, and I don't go after people unfairly. I just don't believe in that. I believe in talking about it like I see it. So sometimes I can't talk about stuff, and I tell you that. And I don't do that to be cute or come across as I know something you don't. It's only because on some level I want to telegraph that maybe something's going to come out that I can talk about when I can. And I don't want it to seem as though it's just something that I just decided to pull out of a hat at some point. I want to build to it to a point where I can discuss something. So that's why I've ever done that. But for the rest of it, I call it like I see it, balls and strikes. And so I'm not perfect. I could be wrong about things. I have been wrong about things, but typically if I step out and say some things as large as I have in terms of a coach looking at other options and has been doing it for a while, it's because I got it from a lot of different solid sources and really a lot of groundwork that I put into this stuff. So anyway, just wanted to say that. And again, I'm not looking for a badge of honor here. I'm just trying to level with things. All right, now I'm 40 minutes in and I'm signing off. Gonna go take some Dayquil because I'm not ready to lay down for a nap. I've got other stuff I've got to do. I got to finish up this game and game story, get quotes in it, and do some other stuff. But I want to thank everybody that joined me here on HogvilleNet YouTube live post game analysis. Arkansas loses at LSU 95-74. Another beatdown in the SEC. And we'll have a post game. Well, we'll have a pregame and a post game next Saturday. I want to thank my sponsor, Jose's Bar and Grill in Tawnytown. Also, my sponsor, Fence Brokers Inc. here in Central Arkansas. But until pre and post game next week, a week from now, remember, no midweek game. Until then, I'll see you then.